Hi, Coach.
Kent, how are you?
Terrific.
Good.
Whew. Hey, other than the poor driver of a Ford vehicle whose key got lost, we're ready to go with you are.
Benefited from a nice week of practice. I thought once we got out of the first 3 minutes of the game, I thought we really settled in defensively. I thought we were very, very solid on that end of the court. We still made a few mistakes, but again, I keep striving for perfection in a game that's really hard to play perfect at. But it was nice to get a lot of guys minutes. I played Pods early. He has deserved the right to get on the court. Has really made huge strides in the last couple of weeks. I like his physicality on the defensive end. He literally hadn't missed a shot in 3 weeks. Now we got to get through the anxiety of the game and a packed house. But I love our ball movement. I love where we're at with that and the unselfish play. It's one of the great plays of the season, maybe in a long time. The guys turning down really good shots to get great shots. Everybody touched it in that one possession. I think it's probably as animated as I've been in a long time because it was pretty special play. And to me, that's basketball, is being unselfish. And this team is doing that. We're clicking along pretty well offensively. And other than our defensive rebounding, which I'm going to have a conversation with Lucas Johnson tonight, see if I can get him out of the math classroom and inject him into our practice a little bit, because we need a little bit of his insanity and tenaciousness on the glass. But again, did what we needed to do. And I thought we capitalized on a week of practice coming out of finals, and pleased with that outcome.
Tyler?
Touched on what my question was going to be about. How, you mentioned that after the Arizona game that you were looking for some more toughness and you were looking forward to a week of practice. What specifically did you work on this week in practice that you felt played out in today's game?
Well, if you guys noticed, Kofi's stance and ball screens tonight was completely different than it has been. One, we worked on conditioning a lot. Secondly, we worked on a lot of our ball screen coverage. We haven't been very good in it. We've just kind of been ghosting our way through it, really. But it was back to fundamentals. It was back to our non-negotiables and what we're trying to do, and having active hands, and making sure that it's getting and holding more guys accountable. But a lot of it was just fundamental stuff. We spent a lot of time on transition D, and again, I thought we were better. Other than the first couple of minutes, I thought we were much better in that area today.
Doug?
Coach, I assume you wanted to see something specific out of Coleman Hawkins. He didn't play much in the first half. What did you see during his stint in the second half, and did he show you what he needed to?
Yeah, he bounced back. No one has higher expectations for Coleman Hawkins than I do. I think that young man's going to have a long career playing basketball. And to be very honest, he's hit a little bit of a rough patch, and he's lost a little bit of confidence. And you try to mix things up a little bit. I was really proud of him. I was really mad at him at half. He gave up 2 offensive rebounds he didn't block out. And then in the second half, he responded to that challenge. And we've got to have Coleman Hawkins. We've got to have, Coleman has to impact us. He can be a tremendous defender. We see his ability to shoot it. I think every time he shoots it, it's going in. The problem is he doesn't. And we got to get him to that point mentally where he's that automatic. So all in all, good recovery for him in the second half.
Jeremy?
Brett, how do you approach that? I mean, you're hard on him, obviously, because you expect a lot out of him, but he's got to gain confidence. Like, how do you try and approach that as a staff with a sophomore who's still going through growing pains?
Yeah, I mean, Coleman played 5 minutes a game last year or whatever. There's growing pains, but along with that, I'm a really big believer in when you face adversity, you find out who you are, and you find out your character issues and your challenges. And he had a great week of practice, and And yet I have to find out where he's at, and so I didn't start him. And the first couple minutes, he didn't do what I thought he deserved to do. So other guys got their opportunity, and he responded. And so now I build belief, and now I build trust, and now we can come back and we can fall in love again. Because it sure wasn't that at halftime today. But we got to do that, but you got to go through the process of adversity to get any better in this game. And I'm never one to stay status quo. We're going to challenge our guys to continue to work to get better, and it's what we do.
Scott?
I guess in a game where you do a lot of things well, win by 58, do you stress the little things more in the game, or will you stress them more when you look back on it, in film?
Yeah, I'm probably the worst coach in America in blowouts, because I never want us to play against our opponent. I want us to play against the game, and you play the game the certain way no matter what the score is. And Brandon Pajemski helped out of a strong side corner, and what you see in blowouts is sometimes you see selfish, and that we don't do. That doesn't work in the game of basketball. So we play against the game, and I thought for the most part that group came in and we did some really good things. We continue to play unselfish, and that is Illinois basketball.
Derek?
Coach, you said this summer something to the extent of we're going to play more like the Utah Jazz this year. How much is this three-point shooting aligning with what you had in mind in the summer?
It's kind of a mixed bag, Derek, because we're not playing as fast as maybe I envisioned. Now, obviously, bellow out impacts that, but because our possessions are down, but our efficiency's up, and you start. I can't wait to see what today's efficiency numbers are, but you start talking about groups of guys that that starting group's been 1.44 OER when they're on the court, which is off the chart. And that's why I started it. And, we don't want to get confused by the fact that Kofi drives most of that. It's a very unique shot chart. Have you seen tonight's shot chart? It's all in the paint or threes. And that's an NBA coach's dream, because you don't take any hard twos. But again, that's what this team is capable of. There's not a bad shooter on our team. There's not a bad shooter on our team. All those guys, I've been waiting for Pods and Luke and RJ to get going shooting the basketball, and we saw what they're capable of. And I think we can space the floor, continue to do that, and obviously unique second half, because the best maker of them all didn't make one in Plummer.
Joey?
It seems like with Plummer, when you guys got him here, everyone said he's one of the best shooters in the country, and we didn't see it, obviously, until games started. But do you ever find yourself just saying, like, oh, wow, and I guess what makes him so good at this?
Well, I think if anybody understands how much time he spends in the gym, you'll realize how good he is. But and that's why. But there's a gift. I mean, he's blessed with great hand-eye coordination. He's got great athleticism, and then he's been able to master it or come really close to it by spending a lot of time in the gym. But you've got to utilize that. You got to take advantage of that. You got to draw on that. He's becoming a much better scorer, and add that piece to his game as well. So we actually played a lot with him on the ball at the point spot this week in practice. Is something I think we can look forward to in the season, later in the season.
Alec?
Yeah, Coach, kind of following up on Derek's question, what made you want to kind of go to an offense like this, and how did you go about installing it?
A lot of it initially was we didn't know what Kofi's status was in the spring when we were recruiting. And do you guys remember the first 2 years here? I do vividly. We couldn't shoot. There was no space on the floor. There's no place, in my opinion, in today's games for guys who can't shoot. It becomes really hard to manufacture offense. And in college basketball, when you have the 3 second, you don't have what the defensive rules in the NBA are. You can load up on a defense. You can put 5 guys on one side of the ball. You can make it really difficult. And if you can't shoot, and somebody dorks a guy or two. I ran my best offense first 2 years, just trying to create opportunity to get Trent or LaRon Black a shot. Hell, that's all I spent all my time on. And so, yeah, we needed shooting. We knew how good Bello was in ball screens, and we knew if Kofi came back that we had a legit inside threat. So, trying to create as much space as possible was the goal in recruiting, and will always continue to be.
Brad.
Scouting report. How many assignments did you see missed today? What's your number?
My guess is 6 or 7, maybe 8. I know DeMonte gave up one late on a slot cut, which was a scouting report mistake, but there were a few. We gave up one on an out of bounds play, but it was better. We've been averaging about 13, so I know it was under that.
Hey, Coach. How did you feel about Benjamin's minutes that he gave in the first half?
Thank you for asking, because I'm remiss in not mentioning how good Benjamin Verdonk has been. Because he's one who does not make scouting report mistakes. He's physical. He's tough. He battled. And then he's an elite passer, whether he's guarded or not. And, a couple of those skip passes to the corner were perfect reads off of doubling Kofi. I've got to continue to get Ben on the court, and whether it's at the 4 or the 5 spot, he was tremendous. And as we move into league play and start seeing bigger, stronger power forwards, he's a guy that we've got to have.
Tyler?
Yeah, Coach, you went 5 minutes plus before your first sub in. Was that a plan just because, a week off trying to get some more flow, continuity, or was it just kind of circumstance of the game?
No, I wanted – that group had been so good with OER and efficiency, and I needed to just kind of leave it on the court. I needed to see us play. And plus I wanted to, push some, usually I sub Kofi right before the first media. And I wanted to see, okay, can I play guys longer stints and longer periods of time? And but I actually really thought a lot about just leaving him in there until the 12-minute mark. But I was pleased with it.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about defending the rim. They only made 10 2-point shots. Is there an adjustment that you made after the Arizona game? It seems like you're not helping off on the dribble drive. Kofi's kind of staying home. Was that a big adjustment for you?
Absolutely. Kofi was impressive as heck today. Kofi was tremendous. Ben was tremendous in our ball screen coverage, and it's all early presentation, and it's how you look and how you present yourself. And we don't give up a ton of threes. We force people to play a lot of 2-on-2 against us in our ball screen coverage, and Kofi's wall is good sized, and it's something that we've spent a lot of time on getting better at, and we did get better at it.
Scott?
It seemed like RJ kind of really just attacked this opportunity today. I mean, did you see kind of what you wanted from him?
Thank goodness. Man, thank goodness. We see RJ's talent, his passing, his cutting, his instinctive ability. The ball finds him. And it's not – RJ's problems aren't on the offensive end. They've been more on the defensive end and staying locked in on that end. But trying to get him to continually be aggressive and attack, and he did that today. And I hope this is something he can really gain some confidence off of because he helped us a lot today.
Julie?
But it seems like when Jake is up here and like 1 or 2 teammates are with him, they're like glued in on every word he says. I mean, does he have that kind of voice in the locker room with his perspective? And I mean, what makes him?
A lot of respect. Jake's got a lot of wisdom about him, and very smart, and he's a great ambassador for what our program is trying to be about and has been about. And so the guys respect him in the locker room. They know how hard he works. Jake has learned a lot from Io in his ability to prepare, and his Jake's day is based around his workouts, and here's a young man that's getting his master's degree and working out and trying to become a pro, and he took notes from Io, and guys respect that. So he's very got a lot of wisdom about him.
Scott, here in front.
I mean, you were in the locker room at halftime, but did you hear that Lucas dove on the floor as his introduction for the
God, I love him. No wonder Bill loved him. I mean, geez. Yeah, that's he's a math teacher. Tell me that's man, and not knocking math teachers, but he walked into a function last night and he just does a breakdown defensive stance and screams at the top of his lungs, and who can't love that passion? And I don't know, what are those guys, 40?
Yeah, it's been 20 years, so yeah, 40, 42.
40, 42 years. I mean, and maybe there was a little liquid influence that could have helped that, but golly, yeah. I mean, he was a pain in the butt to play against, but he was so fun to watch, and I'm sure a great teammate, and probably pretty fitting that Lucas Johnson dives on the floor.
Hear me.
Brad, bragging rights week now. How is this game different for you guys?
Well, we've gotten our ass kicked, so it needs to be a lot different. And that's a tribute to Missouri and Conzo and his group. And we have not been very good in it, and have not played very well in it. And we've got to be better. We've got to rise to the challenge and the intensity with which they have played. And that's on me. Maybe we have not done that. At the end of the day, we try to be everyday guys and keep every game in its proper perspective, and know that it's just a 40-minute game in a game in a season of 31. And yet this one's got a little different edge. And we got to address that. And this that's on me. It's a fun game. It's what college basketball, I keep saying it all the time, it's what college basketball is about, rivalries like that. And throw out the score, the records, the year before, it's always going to be a battle, and it's always going to be hard fought, and it's upon us.
Right here.
Hey, Coach, what is one thing that your team can learn from the 01 and 02 teams?
Oh, man, I just in listening to those guys talk yesterday, and we had some of them in talk to our team, and enjoying the moment, enjoying their time here, because they all talked about how fast it goes. But yet it's incredible. That's why I came to Illinois. It's why I want to be the basketball coach at Illinois forever. I mean, it's that camaraderie. It's that to have guys come back 20 years later and still the fondness with which they remember a play in a game, the fondness with which they remember winning the championships, something dumb Lucas Johnson did, or some shot Corey Bradford hit. And that's what I want our players to have. And if they take that passion and that pride from the University of Illinois basketball, man, to me, that's what this thing is all about. And when you got a place that you can call family and home, 20 years after the fact, 30 years after the fact, there was Dave Downey there last night. To me, man, that is special. That's what makes Illinois basketball one of the hardest rocking programs in the history of college basketball, and it's what I love everything about. And but yeah, that team probably doesn't get enough credit for how good they were. Probably doesn't get enough credit. You can win a Big Ten championship and not be able to win a national championship. That team was pretty doggone good. That thing had a lot of bases covered.
Tyler.
Yeah, Coach, just shifting gears a little bit. College basketball's had a rough few days with COVID. Have you had any discussion with your team about that, or changed any protocols or processes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been a ton of cancellations and so on and so forth. I think we're in great hands. We were at the forefront of everything we did last year dealing with COVID. Are things different? Obviously, we've got a vaccine and we've got some of those things out there. But I think as all we can do is try to tell our players to be as safe as they can, mask up, and follow the procedures that our university, our athletic program, DIA, put in place for us, and let's continue to be as safe and sound as we can be, knowing that there's been a resurgence.
Alec.
Coach, along the same lines, as a student, I kind of know the timeline of when a lot of students were able to get their vaccines. With the third shot now available, is that something you guys are pushing for the athletes to get?
Absolutely. We're starting to get into that 6-month range where the boosters available, and some of those guys can get it. We do have a few that are a little bit later, but that's we can't control what that timeline looks like.
Okay, Rob, we have time for another question or two. Go ahead, Rob.
Keeping on that subject, I saw that the major donors were moved back a couple of feet from the court. It seemed like maybe more of the crowd was masked today. Still not a huge percentage of the crowd. Are you satisfied with the enforcement measures?
I didn't know that. I think we're always going to do everything that we can to be at the forefront of the safety of our student athletes, and that's I really didn't notice that the floor seats were back or anything else, but we're going to follow all the protocols that the state and our local government and health department and university officials give us, and let's hope it never gets to the point where we don't have fans. But we're going to do what we have to do to keep them here.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. See you in St. Louis.
So one of the Lucas stories is that we beat Michigan State here at the end of the game. Big 2 top 5 teams. Who's the one guy they carry off the floor? Lucas, who had 2 points in the game. And that was what Bill goes, he says, are you kidding me? After all these guys, he scored 2 points.